So what you want to do, if you must do it like I'm doing it, you want to move your safe out of the way, and you want to take your lock or your anchor. Using a drop-in anchor, one side has fins and one side has threads on the outside. You want the threads facing up because that's what you're going to screw it into. So you're going to take it and you're going to put the fins down, threads up, and you're going to place those inside of each of your holes that you're going to be using. So I'm going to go ahead and open up 3 of these. I'm going to leave the other one in its package because if I'm not going to use it, I'm going to go return it. They're only like $1, but that's $1 that can go towards something else. These slip in pretty easy. If they do not go in easy, like this back one's not going to, I will show you it a couple different ways. If you just want your bolts flush with the surface of the concrete, it is very easy just to take a hammer and hammer it in till it is flush. Another option is to take, they design a special tool for this, and it's a punch, but you want to use the big end. Do not use a punch that goes into the center, because instead of pushing the whole anchor in, you're going to be tightening it. The easiest way to do it, I assume through watching other videos, is go ahead and screw the bolt into it just until it's snug. Do not over tighten the bolt or you will lock it in place and it won't go down. But put the bolt in just until it is snug, hand tight, and then hammer it in the rest of the way using the bolt head. And I'm going to do that for all 3 of these, and then I'll be back in just a second. Okay, once you have your anchors in place and you've double checked your alignment, you want to take a punch and put it directly in the center of the anchor. Keep in mind here, the harder you hit this anchor in, the tighter it will be and the more secure it will be. So beat the all living heck out of it. So now we have our 3 anchors in place and very, very, very secure. So now what we're going to do is remove the bolts from them. Replace our safe. Making your best attempt to try to line up the holes. Alright guys, 2 quick things. One, I'm fixing to swing up to Home Depot because I did break one of the anchors. So I need to go get one more anchor. By the way, these anchors are only like 99 cents. I think these were actually like 85, and then it was like 99 for the bigger size. And another thing, to get one of these in, to get the hole and get the bolt in, I removed the door. I really didn't have to, but it made it a little bit easier. And removing the door from inside of the safe wasn't that difficult. It's just a process of taking an Allen wrench and you have to unscrew the top hinge pin and unscrew the bottom hinge pin, and there's a ball bearing and a little rod inside of both of those. So that should be pretty easy to reinstall, and it also gets the door out of my way while I'm working on it, makes it a little bit easier. So I'm going to swing to Home Depot real quick and get me another anchor and maybe some more bolts, and I'll be back in just a second. Alright guys, I'm back from Home Depot. Just a tidbit, I'm in Texas, and we got tornadoes touching the ground. We got tornadoes touching the ground in the county south of us, and there's dime to nickel size hail coming down out front. But I mean, we're Texans. I'm working on this, or I'd be out there with him, but my brother's out in the front yard trying to catch hail. So we can only hope he gets hit in the head a few times. Might knock some sense into him. But back to the safe. You guys can't see it, so I'm probably not even going to show it to you, but I got a new anchor, and I'm going to put that in back here. Be back in a second. Alright guys, while I was hammering this one back in here, while the Annihilator is a good zombie weapon, it's not a good anchor driver, so I had to switch to a little bit bigger hammer. This is a 4-pound Stanley. Alright guys, now that I got that last anchor in, got all my bolts lined up. Little tip here, you want to just barely start each bolt in there until you get all 4 bolts, or 3 bolts, preferably all 4 bolts in place, and get them started, because until you tighten them down, they give a little bit of leeway in lining it up, and get them all started and then crank them all down. So that's what I'm going to do now. I've got my 3 bolts in place, and all I got to do is tighten them up. With drop-in bolts, you don't have to tighten them too tight. Basically, you want them tight enough that nobody can get like a hacksaw blade or a sawzall underneath your safe. But if you tighten them too tight, it'll start stressing and trying to pull that anchor out. And you want that anchor in there. So it's kind of a happy medium. I'm sure you can find the exact torque measurements that they need to be at somewhere online, but I just kind of remember the happy medium. You want it tight enough that nobody can get a hacksaw blade or something underneath it, but you don't want to stress that that anchor too tight. And sometimes if the bolt is too close to a hinge, you're going to have to hand tighten it with a pair of pliers. That's just the way it goes. Alright guys, and there you have it. That is just my kind of mediocre amateur instructional video on how to mount your safe to the foundation of your house, giving you a little bit more peace of mind in your investments. And as you can see, this puppy ain't moving. Absolutely no give whatsoever. So, I'm going off to basic, and one of the reasons why I did this is I plan on doing some silver investing, and I have a reasonably small safe that is pretty reasonably easy to pick up. So this is going to give me peace of mind while I'm up in Missouri doing basic training, that my investments will be safe and secure even if someone does break into this house. Now I get to put the door back on and we'll be good to go. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned. I might add a few tips and my opinions on the end. Alright guys, Zippo here for the final clip. Just gonna do a few tidbits. First off, we are done. I've replaced the shelf and the carpeting material in the bottom. This carpeting material also covers up the bolt heads, which is nice for aesthetics, and you're not going to scratch anything. Say you put a gun or valuables down here, you're not going to scratch it on the top of those bolts because it's got this fabric down in here. And then you got a shelf for other things. One of the things I have in my safe is a copy of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. It's all in one thing. I got this from Hillsdale College. just something that I think people, if everything in the world burned down, this is something that I think is worth keeping. So that goes in my safe with other stuff. And we're done for the day, so I'll go ahead and shut it and lock it. And it ain't going nowhere now, and I feel safe and secure in my investments, and anything that I put in there, I feel confident that it's going to stay in there. If anyone was wondering, this is a Brinks home security anti-theft safe. Not exactly sure on the model number or anything. I've had this safe for many years. Just finally getting around to bolting it down. So I'm going to throw in a few tips and pointers, just things that I've learned, and those little things that you learn along the way in bolting down a safe. One thing, I think it would be a good idea, if you can, if your wife will let you, to take a razor blade or something and cut out the whole piece of carpet. If this is the size of your safe, put it in where you want it to go and cut around the outside. Get rid of all of the carpet. I think that would make it a lot easier, unless you have a big safe. If you've got a big safe, honestly, if you have a big safe, I'd do that anyways, just for the fact that when you're trying to drill through with a cement bit, I think you're going to run into some trouble in that first couple getting through the carpet and everything. You might not, I'm not sure, but I know I did. My cement masonry bits didn't want to drill through the carpet. So something to think about. You might want to cut it all out. And if not that, at least maybe go in there, figure out where your holes are going to be, and cut out a good 2-inch square of carpet wherever those holes are going to be. Because another thing, even if your drill bit drills fine through the carpet, while it's drilling through that carpet, it's kind of moving around and wiggling around, and it's really hard to get good, accurate holes, which you really need in doing this. So one thing that I would recommend, if I were to do this again, whenever I get a big safe and I mount it down, what I will do is cut out the carpet. If I can, cut it all out. If I can't cut it all out, at least cut out a good 2-inch by 2-inch square where each one of the holes are going to be. I just think that's a good thing. Another thing, when installing a safe, odds are you're probably going to be in a closet. Most closets have very poor lighting. So if you can tell, I pulled out my headlamp, because this thing is very helpful when I'm up underneath something trying to do one of these, screwing on something, and I can't see what I'm doing. This thing, the light always goes where I go. So, very helpful. And headlamp over a flashlight. A flashlight would work, but headlamp, I like headlamps. This is my end table right here. You can kind of see I got the drink on it. And a couple things that I have on my end table are my headlamp, a flashlight, and my Taurus. So my headlamp and my flashlight, those are things that I put up there right next with my gun. Just throwing that in there. But a headlamp or a flashlight, you gotta have some light, because you can't see what you're doing in a closet. Alright guys, I'm all done, and you guys really have no clue. I had to make this a 2-part video because when I was done with everything, I had over an hour and a half of video footage. So I tried to make it as simple, cut it down, make sure I got the good important facts in there. But I'm sorry if I missed anything, because I had to cut out an hour of video to get it down to even make it a 2-part video. But I hope you guys, I don't care if you enjoyed it or not, I hope this helped someone. I hope that I didn't have to put this up. Most of my subscribers will probably hate this and think it's boring as heck, but I just did this because maybe this can inspire somebody else to get them bolts in the ground
So, hope this helped. See you guys later.